Have you ever looked in the mirror and deep down, you knew something was off? You felt small, not because you are, but because someone made you feel that way. You're not smiling the way you used to. Your light's a little dimmer. You second guess your own voice. You lost a little bit of you along the way. This ain't love. That's a leash. And it's time to break free. All right, now let's talk about something real. Realer than the smiles you put on in front of family. Deeper than the stories you tell your friends just to make it seem like everything's okay. There's a moment where you stop being yourself. And what's wild is you don't even notice it right away. It doesn't hit you all at once. It sneaks up on you, quiet, subtle, like dust settling on a windowsill. Little by little, you start editing yourself, watering yourself down, dulling your shine so it doesn't make him uncomfortable. You used to laugh loud. Remember that? The kind of laugh that turns heads, fills up a room, and makes people smile even when they don't know the joke. Now you check the volume of your joy. You measure it. Because somewhere along the way, someone made you feel like your joy was too much, too loud, too noticeable, too free. You used to post that picture of you at the beach, smiling, confident, alive. Now you hesitate. You take 10 photos, maybe more. Then you scroll through them not thinking, which one do I love? But instead, which one won't upset him? You've stopped asking what makes you feel good. Now it's all about what won't make him insecure. You used to go out with your girls. You used to dress up, not for anyone else, but because it made you feel powerful, alive, connected. Now you're explaining yourself for every hour you spend away. You're catching glances, reading into tones, getting quiet when he gets cold, walking on a leash you never agreed to wear. And here's the part that stings. You start to believe it's normal because he doesn't yell, doesn't hit, doesn't slam doors. No, he's smarter than that. He wraps his control in the language of love, says things like, I just care about you. I don't want people getting the wrong idea. You don't need all that attention. And because you love him, because you want peace, because you want it to work, you fold, you bend. You start asking permission to live. Let me tell you about someone. She was a mother, a professional, and let me tell you, she had fire, loved salsa dancing. That was her thing. Every Tuesday, no matter what, it made her come alive. One day, her man told her it looked like she was putting on a show for other men. Just like that, she stopped going, said she was too busy. But it wasn't the schedule, it was the shame he planted in her spirit. She didn't stop because she changed. She stopped because he made her feel like she wasn't allowed to love herself that way anymore. That's not love. That's fear with a pretty face. And here's the truth. No one should have the power to make you ask permission to be yourself. The real you. The one you were before him. The one who had dreams and hobbies and friends and freedom. The one who didn't shrink to make anyone feel tall. You want to break free. You don't need to burn the house down in a day. You just need to open a window. One act of rebellion. One step back toward yourself. Go back to that class. Wear that lipstick. Post that photo. Call that friend you haven't spoken to in months. That little piece of you he tried to erase. Reclaim it. Own it. Because once you remember what freedom tastes like, even just a sip, it's real hard to swallow anything less. You're not crazy for wanting to be whole. You're not selfish for wanting to feel like yourself again. You don't need permission to be who you are. Not now. Not ever. You just need the courage to stop asking for it. Let me be clear. If you find yourself constantly walking on eggshells around him, you ain't in a relationship. You're trapped. You're living inside a cage that no one else can see but you feel every day. And that cage, it's made of fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of making him angry. Fear of triggering something you can't control. That fear is real. It's heavy. It weighs on your chest like a stone, squeezing the breath right out of you. You shouldn't have to tiptoe through your own life just to avoid setting him off. Love isn't supposed to feel like walking through a field of landmines where every step could blow everything up. Love isn't supposed to have you biting your tongue until it bleeds. It's not supposed to make you question your every word, your every move. When love is right, you don't calculate the risk of being yourself. You don't need to hold back your smile or your anger or your dreams, because love lifts you up. Love sets you free, not locks you down. But here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Emotional manipulation is one of the most common tools of control in toxic relationships. And it's also one of the most overlooked. People confuse the discomfort, the constant tension, the feeling like you're always on edge as just how it is. They say every relationship has its ups and downs. They say that's just love, but that ain't love. That's a trap. Look, emotional manipulation doesn't always come with yelling or slamming doors. Sometimes it's quiet, a look, a sigh, a subtle jab disguised as a joke. It's the way he twists your words so you doubt yourself. It's the way he makes you feel guilty for wanting time for yourself. It's when your feelings are dismissed or minimized until you start believing you're the problem. That's emotional manipulation, and it's poison. You start shrinking your voice, shrinking your presence, shrinking your whole self just to keep the peace. You start living in fear, waiting for the other shoe to drop, afraid that if you speak up, the whole thing will come crashing down. And that's no way to live. Breaking free from this starts with one thing: telling the truth. But not to him. No, first to yourself. You got to be honest with your own heart. Sit down with a pen and paper or your phone and write it out. Write about the fear. Write about the tension. Write about the things you're afraid to say aloud. Name the moments when you held back. Call out the times you felt small or silenced. Because until you name it, until you see it clearly, it stays invisible. And what's invisible controls you. When you write the truth, you take the first step toward freedom. You can't keep lying to yourself about the life you're living. You can't keep pretending the tension is normal. You can't keep believing that fear is just part of love. Because it ain't. It's a red flag, a warning sign that something is wrong. Once you speak that truth, you give yourself power. You're no longer hiding in the shadows of your own life. You start to see the cage for what it is. You start to understand that love doesn't hurt like this. Love doesn't make you afraid. Love doesn't silence your voice. Love is freedom. And freedom is something worth fighting for. So when you feel that weight, when you feel that fear, remember this: you don't have to live that way. You deserve better. You deserve peace. You deserve a love that doesn't make you small, but one that helps you grow, that lets you stand tall and proud and whole. So write the truth, speak the truth, and start walking out of that cage one fearless step at a time. Because your life, your joy, your very soul is worth far more than living in fear. Let me tell you something. When a man controls the money, the decisions, even the story you're allowed to tell about your own life, that ain't love. That's ownership. Straight up. He's not your partner. He's your jailer. And you're living in a prison made of dollars and silence. Think about it. Every time you want to do something small, a haircut, a weekend away, grabbing lunch with coworkers, it's like you have to go through customs, get approval, jump through hoops. You have to ask permission to spend money you earned, to breathe the air you pay for, to live the life you built. And if you don't get the green light, well, you stay stuck. Your desires get sidelined. Your voice becomes a whisper. Your independence slowly bleeds out, dollar by dollar. This control isn't just about money. It's about power. When he questions every purchase, every move, every plan, he's sending a message. Not just about what you can or can't do, but who really runs the show. And you begin to believe it. You start thinking maybe he knows better. Maybe he's right. Maybe his way is the only way. But listen closely, that ain't partnership. That's not love. It's control dressed up in bills and budgets. It's a chain wrapped around your wrist disguised as care or responsibility. And the worst part, you don't even see it because it's so wrapped up in everyday life. I remember a woman telling me once about how she wanted to buy a book. Just a book. Something to feed her mind, her soul. But before she could, she had to justify it. She had to explain why she needed it, why it was worth spending money on. Because she said, who pays the bills? Imagine that. Having to prove you're worth your needs, your dreams, just to buy a book. That's ownership, not love. Freedom is not a gift someone hands you out of kindness or charity. Freedom is a right, something you have to take back, claim, fight for. Breaking free from this starts with quiet steps. It's not always dramatic. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's opening a secret savings account. Sometimes it's hiding a few bills in a drawer. Sometimes it's building a foundation beneath your feet when no one's watching. You see, freedom without options is just a dream. You can talk about wanting to leave, wanting to be yourself again, wanting to live your life. But if you don't have the means, if you don't have a plan, it stays a wish. And wishes don't break chains. Options do. So you start small. You take back control over your own money. You learn how to save, how to manage what you have, even if it's just a little bit at a time. You build your safety net, your runway, your launch pad. And with every dollar saved, you're reclaiming your power, your voice, your life. Because here's the truth, no one gets to own you. Not through money, not through decisions, not through control of your narrative. Your story belongs to you. Your life belongs to you. And the chains you wear aren't forever unless you choose to keep them. You are not property. You are not an asset. You are a person with dreams, desires, and the right to make your own choices. So start building that independence. Quietly if you have to. Strategically if you need to. But start, because freedom without options, that's just a dream waiting to be shattered. But freedom with options, that's power, that's liberation, and that's where your life begins again. Let me ask you something real quick. How many times a day do you say, "I'm sorry"? I'm not talking about the "excuse me" or "pardon me" when you bump into someone. I'm talking about those deep, heavy apologies. "I'm sorry I made you upset. I'm sorry I misunderstood. I'm sorry I didn't read your mind." Sound familiar? You say it so much, it's like a reflex. You're sorry for breathing wrong. Sorry for speaking up. Sorry for existing in a way that inconveniences him. And you don't even realize how much it's wearing you down. If you find yourself apologizing more than saying thank you, if you're saying sorry for your feelings, your needs, your very presence, then listen closely. You're not being loved. You're being trained to be small. You're being taught that your value depends on how little trouble you cause. That your worth is measured by how quiet you are, how invisible you can make yourself. Now let me tell you the truth. A woman who fears disappointing her man more than she values her own peace, she's already under his control. She's not free. She's living in chains made of guilt and fear. She's shrinking her own soul to fit into a box that wasn't built for her. Why? Because somewhere along the line, she started believing her peace didn't matter. She thought if she pushed back, if she stopped apologizing, the whole thing would fall apart. But that's a lie. The truth is, the relationship that can't survive your voice isn't worth your silence. The love that demands you say sorry for being isn't love, it's control, breaking free. It starts small, but it's revolutionary. It starts with learning to say no, not screaming it from the rooftops, not with anger or bitterness, just firmly, calmly. "No, I don't want that. No, that's not okay." And when you say it the first few times, it will shake you. It'll feel strange. You'll feel guilty. You might even want to apologize for saying no. But hold on to that feeling, because that little word "no" is a seed of freedom. It's a declaration that your needs matter, that your boundaries are real, that your peace is not negotiable. And when you practice saying no, when you stand firm in your own truth, something incredible happens. You start to realize you don't need to apologize for existing. You don't owe anyone explanations for wanting respect, kindness, or space to be yourself. You start to breathe easier. Your shoulders relax. Your heart opens. And you begin to find your way back to you. I want you to think about that woman who's learned to apologize less and say no more. She's not perfect. She might stumble. She might question herself. But she's free. She's standing tall. She's reclaiming the power that was always hers. So if you're caught in this cycle of saying sorry for everything, start today. Notice when you apologize unnecessarily. Catch yourself before the words slip out. Practice saying no. Practice standing in your own truth. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. But it's also the first step toward your freedom. You are not a mistake. You are not a burden. You do not need to apologize for your feelings or your existence. You deserve to live without fear, without guilt, without the weight of constant apologies. So take a breath. Hold your head up. Say no when you need to. And watch how the world starts to change. Not because they changed, but because you did. Because you stopped apologizing for being you. Look, I want you to take a good, long look in the mirror. Really see her, the woman staring back at you. Is she the same woman you used to be? The woman who laughed without hesitation. The one who danced in the rain just because it felt good. The one with dreams that lit up her eyes and a fire in her soul that nobody could put out. Or is she someone else? Someone tired, worn down, barely holding on. Because if you don't recognize her anymore, that's a red flag. That's a warning sign flashing in neon lights. You've lost sight of yourself somewhere along the way. And I'm not just talking about a bad day or a rough patch. I'm talking about a deep, soul-sucking exhaustion. Not just physical tiredness, you can see that in her eyes, but a tiredness of the spirit, a quiet erosion of who you are. This is what happens when control takes root in a relationship. It's not always loud or violent. Sometimes it's quiet, creeping in like a thief in the night, stealing little pieces of you until one day you look in that mirror and wonder, who is this woman? You used to have hobbies. You had passions that made your heart beat faster, things that made you come alive. Maybe it was painting or writing or that crazy dance class you loved. Maybe you had a sense of humor so sharp and quick it could light up a room. Maybe you had friends who knew the real you, the one who laughed too loud and dreamed too big. But now, those things are distant memories. You don't pick up that paintbrush anymore. You don't write those poems. You barely laugh. Friends have drifted away because he made you believe you didn't need them. And those dreams, well, they seem foolish now, don't they? Like things you used to believe before life got too complicated, before he decided who you should be. But here's the truth, and it's backed by more than just gut feeling. It's backed by data. Studies show that women trapped in controlling relationships report a 40% higher rate of depression and identity loss. 40%. That's not just a number on a page. That's a reflection of real life, real pain, real women losing themselves because someone else decided they could. But listen to me. This is not what love does. Real love doesn't erase you. Real love doesn't snuff out your light. Real love evolves with you. It grows with you. It encourages you to be more, to reach higher, to reclaim every piece of yourself. So how do you break free? How do you find that woman again? You start by reconnecting with you. It sounds simple, but it's not always easy. Start small. Find those old photos tucked away in a drawer or on your phone. Look at the smiles you used to wear. Remember how your eyes sparkled when you were truly happy. Pull out those old journals. If you wrote back then, read the words you wrote when the world was wide open and full of possibility. Play that playlist you haven't touched in years, the songs that made your soul sing before the silence took over. Let those memories remind you who you were before someone else tried to rewrite your story. You're not gone. You're still in there, waiting to be found. The woman you used to be didn't disappear. She was buried under layers of control and fear. But she's strong. She's resilient. She's waiting for you to reach down, pull her up, and bring her back to life. Remember, reclaiming yourself isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming you again, the you who deserves to live fully, loudly, and unapologetically. You owe it to yourself to find her, because she's the woman who will lead you out of the darkness, who will remind you that you are worthy, you are powerful, and you are free. And when you see her again in that mirror, you won't just recognize her. You'll fall in love with her all over again. Let me speak to you straight, because I know how it feels when fear creeps in and wraps itself around your heart like a cold chain. You stay because you're scared. Scared of what comes next. Scared of the unknown. Scared of starting over. And that fear, it's powerful. It's loud. It tells you all kinds of lies. I've invested too much. We have history. I don't want to be alone. You hear those words echo in your mind every day, don't you? Like a broken record playing the same sad song. You've poured years' tears and pieces of your soul into this. The memories, the shared moments, they feel like ties that bind, and breaking them feels like tearing yourself apart. But let me tell you something. The fear you're living with, that fear is the devil's favorite tool. Because fear will have you trading your soul for security. It'll have you staying in a cage, convincing yourself that the prison bars are protection. But hear me clear, starting over is not failure. It's freedom, freedom to breathe, freedom to live again, freedom to find who you are beneath the weight you've been carrying. I want you to imagine a woman I know. She left a 10-year relationship when she was 45 years old. 10 years. That's a long time. That's a lifetime of memories, investments, what ifs. Everyone around her said she was crazy, told her she was throwing away something precious. But she looked them in the eye and said, I'd rather be alone and alive than partnered and dead inside. And you know what? Today, she runs her own business. She wakes up every morning with a smile. Not the forced one, but the real kind. The kind that comes from knowing she owns her life again. You don't have to be alone to start over. You just have to be brave enough to choose you over the comfort of the familiar. Because that comfort, it's an illusion. A trap dressed up as safety. The truth is, The only thing you're really safe from when you stay is the chance to grow, to heal, to live fully. So how do you break free from this fear? First, stop romanticizing what's killing you. That history you hold onto so tightly. It's a lesson, not a leash. Those years weren't wasted. They taught you who you are, what you can endure, and what you won't accept anymore. But the past doesn't get to dictate your future. You don't owe your life, your happiness, your freedom to the man who stole your present. Starting over means stepping into the unknown, but it also means stepping into your power. It means saying, I am more than my fear. It means reclaiming your story, writing a new chapter where you're the author, not the character trapped in someone else's script. And listen, no one said this journey is easy. It's messy, it's painful, it's uncertain, but it's also the most courageous thing you can do. Because it's choosing yourself when no one else seems to be. It's choosing hope when everything inside tells you to give up. It's choosing freedom when fear tries to hold you back. You were not made to settle for less than you deserve. You were not made to live in a story written by someone else's control or fear. You were made to thrive, to rise, to break every chain that holds you down. So when the fear whispers to stay, remind yourself you are stronger than your fear. You are worthy of a life that makes you feel alive, not dead inside. You deserve a fresh start, a new dawn, and a future that belongs to you. And when you finally take that step, scared, uncertain, trembling, you'll discover something powerful. Starting over isn't losing yourself. It's finding yourself again. And that, my friend, is where your true freedom begins. You ever sit there in the quiet, staring at the ceiling, and feel that heavy weight pressing on your chest? That voice whispering, you can't leave. It's a voice that sounds like your own, but it's not. It's the voice of fear, of programming, of trauma. It's the voice that's been planted in you over time until you can't tell where he ends and you begin. It tells you no one else will want you. It tells you he'll make your life hell if you go. It tells you this is as good as it gets, and you should be grateful for what you have, even if it's breaking you down piece by piece. But listen to me, those thoughts are not the truth. They're not love talking. Love doesn't whisper threats in your ear. Love doesn't make you feel trapped. Love doesn't strip away your self-worth until you believe you're lucky just to be tolerated. What you're hearing is fear. It's a tactic. Abusers create dependency to keep control financially, emotionally, socially. That's not an accident. That's not fate. That's a strategy. Because if they can make you believe you're helpless, if they can cut you off from support, from money, from your own confidence, they know you'll stay. They know you'll think there's nowhere else to go. And when you've been in that place long enough, you start to doubt yourself. You stop imagining a life beyond the cage you're in. You shrink your dreams down to fit inside four walls. You settle for survival instead of living. That's how deep the programming goes. That's how powerful the fear becomes. But here's the truth you've forgotten: you are not helpless. You are not unlovable. You are not stuck. You've just been made to believe you are. And belief can be rewritten. You can rewrite the story. You can tear the script up and start again. You may not feel strong right now, but strength isn't about never being afraid. Strength is about taking a step forward even while you're shaking. Start with one question. One tiny, defiant question: what if I'm wrong? What if everything you've been told about yourself, that you're hard to love, that no one else will want you, that you're too broken, is a lie? What if someone will love you better? What if you're not too old, too tired, too damaged to start over? What if your best life is still waiting on the other side of goodbye? Let that question sit in your chest for a moment. Let it spark something. Because when you ask, what if I'm wrong? You open a door. You let hope slip in through the cracks. And hope is dangerous to fear. Hope is the beginning of freedom. I've seen people walk away from the very thing they thought they could never leave. I've seen them start with nothing, no money, no support, and rebuild a life brick by brick until one day they're standing tall, smiling, alive again. And every one of them says the same thing: I wish I'd left sooner. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to see the whole path. You just have to take the first step. Pack a small bag of courage. Whisper to yourself, what if I'm wrong? And walk toward the life you've been told you can't have. Because on the other side of fear, there's freedom. On the other side of goodbye, there's healing. On the other side of this moment, there's you, the real you, waiting to live again. And once you find her, once you claim her, you'll wonder why you ever believed you couldn't leave. Listen closely now, because this isn't just words. This is truth wrapped in fire, burning through the noise that's been holding you down. Nobody should own you. Not love, not guilt, not fear. Nobody has the right to claim you like property. You are not something to be boxed up, controlled, or tamed. You are not a project for someone else to fix or shape into what they want you to be. You are a person, a soul, a force of nature. And if he's already got a hold on you, if you feel like you're walking through life in chains that aren't yours, that's when the real fight begins. Not with fists, not with shouting, but with a quiet war inside. A war waged one choice at a time. One no that stings like fire. One breath taken when you feel like you want to disappear but decide you won't. You don't have to set the world on fire today. You don't have to explode and break everything down all at once. But you better start lighting that match. Because freedom isn't a moment, it's a movement, a series of small revolutions inside your heart that build until the walls come crashing down. Picture it, the woman who stands tall, who looks in the mirror and sees herself again. The woman who speaks her truth, who holds her head high, who walks out of that darkness and into the light she's been too afraid to chase. That woman is you, waiting beneath the dust, beneath the silence, beneath the weight. Freedom looks good on you. It suits you better than fear ever did. It shines in your eyes. It strengthens your steps. It wakes up the power you forgot you had. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real, raw, fierce, unapologetically you. So take this moment, let it sink in deep, like a fire in your chest. The chains don't belong to you. The cage was never your home. And the story that says you have to stay, that you're not enough without him, that story ends now. Go get your life back, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, right now. Because your future, your happiness, your freedom, they're waiting for you to say yes to yourself, to step out, step up, and step into the life you deserve. You are a force, and it's time the world feels your power.